Hey folks, on Lasagna here, and sorry for the delay. I moved, work ramped up, some family things came up, and it took me a long time to adjust to all of it and still have the energy to write and record. I kept saying that I'd soundproof my room, and then it just never really felt like a good time to go out and pay for the materials and put them all up, and honestly it's also really expensive, and I just need to start making videos again. So if this room seems a bit more echoey, I apologize. My next video after this one will be a discussion on video game refunds. I'm still also working on the Elder Scrolls series, but until I start releasing my series, I highly recommend the videos by Neverknowsbest, who is knocking it out of the park lately with his long-form analysis. Anyway, on to the topic at hand. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. First off, warning you now, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you've watched the show already. I don't even want to entertain the idea of watching this video without watching the show first, because the show is really good. Great acting, writing, characters, arcs, stories. It ends way better than WandaVision, easily one of my favorite MCU things out, definitely my favorite Captain America movie. I enjoy Bucky and Sam's relationship, I enjoyed Zemo from Civil War being in this and his musings on power. I enjoyed the Flag Smashers. They are of the agree with their ideas, disagree with them killing civilians variety, which is sort of a worn trope that's meant to avoid changing the status quo in a story co-written by the US military for a medium that relies on the status quo being unchanged so we can keep fighting bad guys. That being said, they did stick the landing for me in the end, with Sam questioning the government officials that let this happen and held them accountable in a way very few quote-unquote prestige dramas do, much less superhero movies. They also went a lot farther than the various political themes of the show than I thought they would, but they did it in a way that wasn't just a blunt allegory. It used the universe of Marvel to tell stories that couldn't be told anywhere else, that also factored in these political contexts, which for me is by far the most interesting way to tell a story in fantasy. Most of all, I enjoyed how this was the first Marvel film in a long time that I felt really went for it in terms of its themes. The biggest contributor to this was the characters and their arcs, with one exception. Let's talk about Walker, because up until the end, I really liked what they did with him. At the core of Walker lies insecurity. Insecurity of not being the best at every aspect of his job compared to everyone else in the room. Insecurity of not living up to the Captain America mantle. Like Sam, he didn't have a super serum, but unlike Sam, Walker lets that eat at him. He does want to help people, but even in the beginning you can tell that, unlike Steve Rogers, this need is not entirely altruistic. He attaches some of his ego to his hero work. It's not enough to help people, he needs to feel like he lives up to the Captain America mantle, which to him is feats of strength more than feats of humanity. You start to see his ego get shattered when he loses to the Flag Smashers in their first battle. He then later loses to the Dora Milaje, basically Wakandan special forces tasked with tracking down Zemo for murdering their king in Civil War. His refrain, "They weren't even super soldiers," is perfect. He sees Captain America not as someone who fought for good no matter the odds, but someone who always won no matter the odds. And that is a very important difference. Again, this was not an insecurity that Steve Rogers had. He fought alongside and against literal gods, people who were objectively stronger than him in every way, and never once did I hear him complain, because to Steve, it was about standing up for the innocent and saving lives. The insecurities that Walker has about himself are, in a lot of ways, the sort of schoolyard debates in young nerdy circles about who is the best hero, which were almost always based on who was the most powerful rather than who did the most good for the world. I think it's genius to lean into this, especially comparing his insecurities to the legitimate reservations that Sam has about carrying Captain America's shield. Eventually, John Walker, in a blind rage for killing his friend, takes advantage of the last super serum syringe and decapitates one of the Flag Smashers on live TV. Walker is, above all else, exactly what his country made him, something the show explicitly points out. After he is kicked out of the military, he's approached by a mysterious figure who, at a time he's at his most vulnerable and insecure, tells him that he's actually the greatest warrior ever and we need more people like him and he needs to continue serving his country the way he's already been doing it. Then we don't really see him until the last episode. And it's this episode where we run into problems. So Walker is there to kill Carly, which makes sense. What doesn't make sense is that Sam and Bucky just run with it. Now I know that he chooses to save civilians over killing Carly, which is generally a good thing, but Walker is still a very unstable, ego-driven super soldier. He's not a great guy, but according to the showrunners, the goal was for us to like this guy. Now, just to make it clear, I'm fine with Walker being redeemed and for us eventually being able to like him. I'm fine with the horrible things he's done being presented in a way where you understand why he made those decisions. I'm not trying to say that Walker can't be a bad guy or can't be bad specifically in the way that he is. But a redemption arc is, well, an arc. We spend multiple episodes showing this guy's downfall, the peak of which had him murdering someone out of anger and vengeance and attempting to murder our 2 lead characters. Yet our 2 leads, who are otherwise well-written, understandable people, are all of a sudden walking alongside this guy like he's part of the team, forgetting that he tried to kill them and to their knowledge shouldn't even be fighting. One episode where he stopped his murderous rampage to save a bus full of kids does not make it all okay. And even worse is how the series ends. His new handler, Val, talks to him like he was doing his job, but the audience doesn't really know what doing his job was. Was his job to kill Carly? Because he failed at that. I mean, sure, she died, but that wasn't his doing. Then the show gives him the title of US agent, and the music swells, and him and his GF are happy, and it's like,
man, wow. Gary is such a great guy.
And this is just a completely wrong tone. It's like Walker's redemption has already happened. It feels rushed. Worse yet, Walker's redemption could be a season in of itself, showing him making amends in a similar way Bucky ends up doing, him learning humility and how to be a real hero. Now, if they try to do that, it'll feel like a jarring shift backwards rather than a natural evolution of a slower building arc. So my main problems with Walker are the following. Number 1. Him wanting to go in and kill Carly with no nuance basically makes him just a B-team version of our main protagonists. His goals don't conflict enough with theirs, so he becomes an ally really quickly. 2. His reasoning for being in the battle was not really explained. I'm not saying that Val's cards need to be laid on the table, but at the very least, let us know the immediate things that she's trying to do. Instead, she congratulates Walker on a job well done that the audience has no metric to judge, and then he gets rewarded. 3. On a related note, he should not have gotten a reward at the end of this season. If we want to do a redemption, it needs time to develop, and this ending squandered that a bit. And finally, 4. The finale didn't feature enough of the insecurity and vanity that the previous episodes built up and that are core to Walker's character. So let's change Walker's ending. My first change for Walker would be that when he shows up at the climax, the heroes are wary of him. We can still have Walker have that one-on-one interaction with Carly, but instead of that fight being quickly resolved, we have that fight be interrupted by Falcon. This turns into a 3-person brawl between Sam, Walker, and Carly. Eventually, Walker gets into a position where he can pull out 2 guns and aims one at Carly and one at Falcon. Walker will try to play off Falcon's last encounter with him saying, "New wings, I dig it." Falcon immediately pushes past the cringe and questions what Walker is doing there. Walker responds that he's going to quote-unquote be the hero America needs, even if it doesn't realize it. Falcon says that he shouldn't be here, that he wants Carly neutralized non-lethally if possible, and if you don't leave, you're just going to get in the way of that. Walker brings up all the lives that Carly has taken, and that she's too dangerous to be kept alive, and yada yada yada. Falcon interrupts him saying, "Is that the real reason you want her gone?" And then Walker gets pissed. He says, "How dare you? You have no idea what I've sacrificed." He says that Falcon's gone soft and that that's why my employer wants to have you killed. That only he has the will to do what needs to be done. After Walker says this, Red Wing will come in and shock Walker in an attempt to subdue him. This distraction allows Carly time to escape. Walker manages to fire a shot, and at that point, Falcon is able to intercept the bullet and block it with his shield. Walker then splits Red Wing in half, visibly angering Falcon, and then Walker says, "Oh, and another thing, I want my shield back." He throws a punch at Falcon, and now they fight. Eventually, Winter Soldier joins the fray, and they're able to sort of contain Walker together, so Bucky tells Falcon to save Carly and that he can handle Walker one-on-one. Now, the Winter Soldier and Captain America have a one-on-one fight for the first time since Winter Soldier debuted, except the sides are reversed. At one point, Walker and Bucky are both trying to submit the other in a struggle, and Walker says, "The world is broken. It needs the strong to be willing to do what's necessary to keep order. You of all people should understand that." And Bucky replies, "I do understand, and that's why I have to fight you." I feel this gives Walker a lot of character, but it also gives Bucky a lot of character as well, sort of completing his arc through stopping Walker, rather than him just talking to Carly in one phone call, which I felt was, I don't know, a little underdeveloped for him. But anyway, Bucky and Walker fight for a bit, and then Walker is able to submit Bucky into a headlock, and Bucky starts the conversation this time instead of Walker, saying, "Don't do this. You're more than what they made you." Walker is taken aback by this, then tries to rip off Bucky's arm in rage. And Bucky does the thing to his arm that the Dora Milaje people did in the last episode, voluntarily removing his arm, which throws Walker off balance. Then the Winter Soldier kicks him into a half-finished construction set that falls on top of him. The arm is poking out of the rubble. Bucky grabs it and snaps it back into place. Carly then blows up some charges and some people on a bus are in danger, and Winter Soldier immediately goes for the hostages, leaving a knocked out Walker on the ground. We can have Bucky struggle trying to save a truck, trying to save the hostages, but making it clear that he can't do it on his own, and the helicopter spotlight is on top of him. The world is watching the Winter Soldier try to save this bus. Then we cut back to Walker. We can have Walker be able to choose between going after Carly and Falcon or helping out Bucky with the bus, and he chooses Bucky. Walker, in his black US agent suit, pushes up from the bottom of the truck in the shadows where no one can really see him. So essentially, he's secretly helping Bucky pull up the truck without anyone seeing him. After they're saved, the world now knows that Bucky is a hero and thinks that Bucky was just really, really strong, and they don't know that Walker was there at all, and Walker is gone without a trace. The rest of the climax stays mostly the same, and so do the other character interactions. The next scene that we're going to go ahead and change is the last scene with Walker in the show. The one where Walker and his new handler, Val, talk about the battle. I really think it ending on a joyous note for him was just not at all the way to go for this character. So in my new scene, instead of Val congratulating Walker, she's berating him. "You had one job," she'll say, "to kill Carly, kill Falcon, and make both their deaths look like they killed each other. And the reason they wanted Falcon dead is, in Val's words, the last thing my employers need right now is another Boy Scout sniffing around." Val's plan was to make Walker the new Captain America again for power and influence. They wanted Walker to be Captain America as a sort of in for Val's employers to have power and influence within the US Army and US government. Something along the lines of, if you want John Walker, you have to contract us for all of your military needs. And we lead the missions, you buy the guns from us, we pick some politicians and foreign policy stuff, etc., so forth. But now, Falcon is Captain America, and he did a really, really good job live on television. Bucky has emerged publicly as another hero if Falcon were to ever be out of commission. And Walker did do some good, but nobody saw it. So for Val, this is basically the exact opposite of what she wanted. But Val's going to say, reluctantly, "Look, my employers liked what they saw of you in the field. The real you. The one that did what was necessary. That's the only reason you're still around. So suit up and get ready for your next mission." Val hands him a large suitcase, Walker opens it, and we see his expression go from conflicted to determined as the camera pans onto the traditional gray and red shield of the new US agent. And that's it for that scene. Overall, I like the idea of Walker doing something redeeming in the end of the show. I think showing some conflict in him at the end of the season was a smart move, but he should suffer some consequences for it. It should still seem like a struggle. Still seems like something open-ended that could go either way. And I really think that an ending where Val yells at him for saving people, and then him being conflicted, but also realizing that, you know, he's in this now, he's in this with Val, and if he's not with her, he's with no one. You know, I think that that sort of conflict inside of him would be a really good open-ended note to end the show on. Overall, I really enjoyed the show Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is why Walker's ending stuck out so much to me. It was a really sore spot and otherwise really, really good show. But that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. I actually look forward to hearing from some of you again. I know I've been away for a while. Thanks so much for watching my video anyway on how I changed Walker's ending. Next video will be about video game refunds. Oh boy.